Psalm 119, Discourse 5 of Expositions on the Book of Psalms, Volume 5. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Expositions on the Book of Psalms, Volume 5 by St. Augustine of Hippo. Psalm 119, Discourse 5. Verse 9. Let us, most beloved, consider these verses in this psalm, and as the Lord giveth, let us search into his sacred book. Wherewithal shall a young man correct his way, even by keeping thy words? He questioneth himself, and answereth himself. Wherewithal shall a young man correct his way? So far it is a question. Next cometh the answer. Even by keeping thy words. But in this place the keeping of the words of God must be understood as the obeying of his commandments indeed, for they are kept in memory in vain, if they are not kept in life also. For some men in keeping the words of God are concerned only to avoid forgetting them, and not to correct themselves in life. But this man saith not, Wherewithal shall the young man exercise his memory? But, Wherewithal shall a young man correct his ways? And replieth thereto, By keeping thy words. Nor can the way ever be called straight, as long as the life shall be crooked. But what is meant by young man here? For he might have said, Wherewithal shall any one, homo, correct his way? Or, Wherewithal shall a man, ver, correct his way? Which is usually put by the Scriptures in such a way that the whole human race, understood by the more honoured sex, by a mode of expression wherein the whole is signified by a part. For we cannot but suppose that a woman is blessed, who hath not walked in the counsel of the ungodly, where nevertheless the words are, Blessed is the man. But in this passage he saith neither any one, nor a man, but a young man. Is then an old man to be despaired of? Or doth an old man correct his way by any other means than by ruling himself after God's word? Or is it perhaps an admonition at what age we ought chiefly to correct our way? According to what is elsewhere written, My son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom till thy grey hairs. There is another mode of interpreting it, by recognizing in the expression the younger son in the Gospel, who having departed from his father to a distant region, spent his substance in riotous living with harlots, and after he had fed swine, suffering poverty and hunger, at length returned to himself, and said, I will arise and go to my father. Wherewithal did he correct his way, save by ruling himself after the words of God, which he desired as one longing for his father's bread. For his elder brother, who said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment, corrected not his way. The younger son then corrected his way, which he confessed that he had so depraved and perverted, that he said to his father, I am no longer worthy to be called thy son. A third interpretation occurreth to me, which I indeed, according to the slight measure of my knowledge, prefer to the two former, by which the elder is understood to mean the old man, the young man to mean the new man, the elder who beareth the image of the earthly man, the younger who beareth that of the heavenly. Because that is not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterwards that which is spiritual. However decrepit therefore any man may be from old age of body, he will be young in the sight of God, when converted by the newness of grace, which he hath received. And herein he correcteth his way, by keeping God's words, that is, the word of faith which we preach, and this is the faith which worketh through love. Verse 10. But this younger people, the child of grace, the new man, who singeth the new song, the heir of the new covenant, this younger people, not Cain, but Abel, not Ishmael, but Isaac, not Esau, but Israel, not Manasseh, but Ephraim, not Eli, but Samuel, not Saul, but David. Hear what it addeth. With my whole heart, he saith, have I sought thee. O repel me not from thy commandments. Behold, he prayeth that he may be aided to keep the words of God, wherewith he had said that the young man corrected his way. For this is the meaning of the words, O repel me not from thy commandments. For what is it to be repelled of God, save not to be aided? For human infirmity is not equal to obeying his righteous and exalted commandments, unless his love doth prevent and aid. But those whom he aideth not, these he is justly said to repel, as the unworthy are repelled by a flaming sword from stretching forth their hand to the tree of life. But who is worthy, since sin entered into the world through one man, and through sin death, and thus passed into all men, since all have sinned? But our deserved misery is healed by the undeserved mercy of God. For how could he who saith, With my whole heart have I sought thee, do this, unless he unto whom it is said, Wilt thou not turn again and quicken us, turned him unto himself when he was turned away, and unless he who saith, I will seek that which was lost, and bring again that which was driven away, sought him when lost, and recalled him when wandering. Verses 11 and 12. Hence it is too that he correcteth his path by keeping the words of God, from him ruling, him working. For he could not do it by himself, since the prophet Jeremiah confesseth and saith, O Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself, it is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. For the psalmist also desired this of the Lord above, where he saith, O that my ways were made so direct. And here where he addeth, verse 11, Thy words have I hid within my heart, that I may not sin against thee. He at once sought the divine aid, lest the words of God might be hidden without fruit in his heart, unless works of righteousness followed. For after saying this, he added, Blessed art thou, O Lord, teach me thy righteousnesses. Teach me, he saith, as they learn who do them, not as they who merely remember them, that they may have somewhat to speak of. For he had already said, Thy words have I hid within my heart, that I might not sin against thee. Why then doth he still seek to learn those things which he already keepeth hidden within his heart, which he surely would not have done had he not learned them? Why then doth he add and say, Teach me thy righteousnesses, save because he wished to learn them by deeds, not by speaking or retaining them in his memory? Since then, as it is read in another psalm, he shall give blessing who gave the law. Therefore, blessed art thou, O Lord, he saith, O teach me thy righteousness. For because I have hidden thy words in my heart, that I may not sin against thee, thou hast given a law. Give also the blessing of thy grace, that by doing right I may learn what thou by teaching hast commanded. Let this suffice so that your minds may be nourished without being wearied. What followeth calls for another discourse. End of Psalm 119, Discourse 5.